the second coming of Christ. It was a day like any other. But beneath the surface of everyday life, the world was quietly shifting. Across the globe, people moved about with their worries and ambitions, each person wrapped up in their own little corner of existence. But deep in the hearts of many, something was stirring, a sense of something extraordinary approaching. It began with a sudden flash in the sky, not a meteor or an eclipse, but a radiant, blinding light that no one could ignore. It was like the sun had opened up, revealing a brightness beyond imagination. And in that light, a figure appeared. He stood atop a hill in the heart of the city, not in a palace or a throne, but just there, an ordinary hill, surrounded by the hustle and bustle of modern life. He was dressed in simple, timeless robes, his face serene yet carrying the weight of the world. He seemed at once familiar and entirely new. His eyes, however, were what captured the soul. They held the sorrow of ages and the promise of redemption, a depth that could not be fathomed. Jesus had returned. At first, people didn't know what to think. Some shouted in disbelief while others wept, as if they had always known he would come back. The media, ever the skeptic, scrambled for an explanation. Was it a hoax? A mass illusion? But those who were there, those who stood in the light, felt it deep within themselves. The world had changed, and it was about to change again. As he spoke, his voice echoed with a calm authority, like thunder rolling over mountains. "I have come not to condemn, but to renew," he said. "The world you live in, filled with fear, greed, and division, is at a crossroads. You have the power to choose. Will you love one another? Will you heal the wounds of the earth? Will you seek justice and peace?" People listened, but many couldn't fathom how his words could apply to such a chaotic world. Wars raged in distant corners. Hunger, inequality, and corruption had entrenched themselves in the systems of society. Could these things truly be overcome? Yet, as Jesus continued to speak, something began to shift within the crowd. His words weren't just words. They were a call to something deeper within humanity, a reminder of what it meant to truly love. Slowly, as the hours passed, the people who gathered began to put aside their differences. A young activist put down her placard. An elderly businessman who had spent decades building his empire stepped forward and offered his hand to a homeless woman who had been standing nearby. A mother embraced a soldier, her tears washing away years of division. Then, something extraordinary happened. The earth, which had long suffered from the ravages of industrialization and environmental decay, began to respond. The skies cleared, the air grew fresher, and the once barren ground began to bloom with life. Flowers unfurled in the streets, birds returned to the sky, and the oceans seemed to settle in peace. The miracles were not just supernatural. They were symbolic of what was possible when humanity chose compassion, harmony, and restoration. Over the following days, Jesus moved through cities and towns, not in a parade of spectacle, but quietly among the people. He didn't speak only to the faithful. He spoke to the scientists, the skeptics, the ones who had lost faith in religion. He healed, not just through miraculous acts, but by teaching others how to heal themselves, how to forgive, how to let go of hatred, how to see each person, each living being, as worthy of love and respect. But he also spoke the hard truths. He reminded the powerful that their wealth was fleeting, their empires built on the suffering of others. He called out the injustice that ran through the veins of society, from political corruption to systemic inequality, and he did not shy away from the harshest truths of the world. How humanity had ravaged the earth and forgotten its connection to the planet and to one another. As the days passed, the world began to change. Cities saw revolutions, not of violence, but of kindness. People started to rebuild the planet, not just with technology, but with care. The poor and marginalized were uplifted. Humanity started to work together, not as enemies, but as stewards of each other's lives and of the world itself. But the moment of his return was not a permanent shift. It wasn't about him creating a perfect world single-handedly. It was about awakening something within humanity. He left as mysteriously as he had arrived, not to depart forever, but to entrust the world back into the hands of those who had heard his call. Remember, he said as he ascended, his form dissolving into light, I am with you always, in the love you share, in the justice you seek, and in the peace you build. The kingdom of God is not somewhere beyond. It is within you. And just like that, the world was left to continue its journey. But it was different now. People no longer saw themselves as disconnected from one another or from the planet they walked upon. The seeds of change had been planted, and they were growing in the hearts of all those who had listened to the call. The second coming wasn't a singular moment, but the beginning of a movement, one that would ripple through time, as long as humanity chose to carry it forward. Before Jesus come again to permanently set up his government on earth, will you let him come first into your heart to set up his eternal kingdom? Will you stop chasing after vanity and seek that which truly matters? Will you receive him into your heart before it is too late? He stands at the door of your heart, hoping you'll hear and open. Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to give to everyone according to his work. Revelation 22:12.
Thank you for watching. Kindly like, comment, and subscribe. Click on the notification bell so you can be alerted anytime a new video is uploaded. And please, don't forget, share and be a blessing to someone. God richly bless you. Shalom.